What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Talk Saints 53-man roster. Probably the biggest surprise of the day. And there are a few, but it's rare that you talk about kicker this much. But we're going to start with Will Lutz, as Will Lutz is traded to the Denver Broncos for a 7th-round pick. As Nathan Messina points out on Twitter, Sean Payton, the dude said he was burnt out in New Orleans and went on to Denver to create the exact same team. Yeah, no, he just he continues. I mean, between Troutman, Lutz, oh man, there's one the other day too that I missed. Whatever, he's just taking back
Callaway.
Yeah, Callaway's there. Yes, taking back all of the old Saints to Denver with him. But I don't care about the Peyton angle. Will Lutz traded for a 7th-round pick. You go with Blake Grupe. Here's my whole take on the situation, Jake. Everything we heard out of camp was that it was essentially even, right? No, that means, and both were great. Like, it wasn't like even mediocre. No, both were really damn good, but basically statistically even. And this is where it becomes interesting. This is a bit of a risk of a choice for Dennis Allen and company. I know Will Lutz struggled last year, 74%, which wasn't even good for top 32 in the league, but it's coming off of a year of injury. He kicked excellent in this preseason. And you just cut a guy who is your second all-time leading scorer to Morton Anderson. You cut a guy who has your all-time franchise best field goal percentage, even after the 74% year, 86% kicker for his career, best you've ever had. And then most importantly, Jake, this is the crazy stat. You just cut a guy in Will Lutz, or let him go, trade him, whatever.
I say, you got something for him.
Yeah, you got a 7th-round pick.
I mean, but think about, like, trust me, and I get what you're saying and everything that he's done for the franchise. But when you see the year that he had last year, you've seen him in practice, there might be some in the building that think, okay, well, is it going towards the other side? And we have this rookie kicker that's been able to handle the pressure of being in this job. None of us had him being in this job. We thought he was a camp body. The first game against Kansas City, he makes a kick. We're like, oh, that's a cool story. He'll be able to tell his grandkids about that.
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, he makes the team. But the fact that you've got something for Will Lutz, and if it's a dead heat, like everybody said that it was in training camp, and you get a 7th-round pick, I still think that's a Saints win. Right now.
Well,
like, it'll play itself out.
Until it, as long as it doesn't cost you wins.
For sure.
Because here's the most important Will Lutz stats, even in a bad year last year. In his career, 8 of 9 when he had the opportunity to give the Saints the lead in the final minute of the 4th quarter or overtime.
Yeah.
His only miss was a 61-yarder as a rookie. Okay. So yeah, he may have struggled last year, but overall in his career, like we just laid out, the most accurate kick you've ever had, and most importantly, almost never missed the biggest kick. Now, we saw Grupe go 1-1 in preseason, but it's a whole different ballgame when suddenly it's a regular season wins online. All I'm saying is you had 2 guys that performed even during camp. You have one guy that you know is clutch and one guy that you hope is clutch. It's just interesting risk when Dennis Allen can't afford losses. Otherwise, it's his job, and then he never gets another head coaching opportunity. He's a bit like Steve Sarkisian this year. Like, this is last ride or bust when it comes to being the head coach of an NFL team for DA. So I'm not, look, again, it's not, I think I'm painting it like I'm saying it's a disaster move. It's that 8 of 9 that has stuck with me though, right? And I think about the 51-yarder against the Falcons last year, like the Texans kick that everybody was playing on social media yesterday where Drew Brees and them somehow got the ball to center with like a 57-yarder. Yeah. Like, that's the difference between the playoffs and not. It can be. So we'll see with Grupe. Let's hope that preseason performance carries over into the regular season.
Yeah, the draft pick's big for me. If you didn't get anything and you made that decision, I'm still sitting here kind of questioning that. They did get something in compensation, and again, if it was a dead heat, but I know what you're saying in the big moments. Now you're going to a very kicker-friendly division where you have home games in a dome, you have Atlanta plays in a dome, Carolina sometimes weather, but Tampa Bay's not weather. So that's That's a positive for you. That's something I always look at for kickers. What division do you play in? If you play in like the AFC North, like I'm not trying to kick in that division. We just saw Katie York get released out of that division. Weather's always playing a factor there. Yeah, it's bold. It is bold, but if Will Lutz was truly going towards the other side of it, not like he was bad, right? So not a bad kicker, but if his best days were behind him and they felt like that inside the building, and you bring this rookie in that continue to impress you time and time again, and you get a 7th-round draft choice, I think that's too good for the Saints to pass up.
Well, obviously it was. I guess I just don't know if I buy that. I mean, and granted, we're not at practice, and they have more information than we do, so maybe it was the quality of the makes, right? Maybe Lutz was, like somebody on Twitter was like, Lutz was sneaking him in, and Groupie was knocking him dead center. Okay, I guess. But, like, all of the make and miss numbers were exactly the same. In fact, I think last we saw Lutz maybe had like a 1 field goal advantage in terms of just raw percentages from throughout camp. So, you know, is he on the other side, or was last year a down year after coming back from an injury for an entire year? Like
and I think
let's hope you're right.
And
that's all I'm saying, because the second Groupie misses a game-winning opportunity, this all blows up and everybody loses their friggin' mind.
Well, Sean Payton had to cut Marquez Callaway, and Lil Jordan Humphrey from the Broncos, and he's like, you know what? I don't have enough ex-Saints now.
Damn.
I got to go trade for one.
That makes sense.
Oh, man. I thought Callaway was going to get a wide receiver one shot with all the injuries they had.
No, they really like Marvin Mims. He's kind of taken over for Judy in his absence, but it actually came out yesterday. Judy's not going on the short-term IR. They only expect him to miss like 2 weeks. So
that's big. He got carted off, so that's good news.
All right, so it's enough. Well, not enough kicker talk because we got to talk punter real quick. Life comes at you fast if you're Blake Gilligan.
Yeah.
One day you're replacing the legend, the leg, Thomas Morstead, and the next, some sexy 30-year-old Australian shows up, and you are now being replaced as Lou Hedley, the 30-year-old rookie, used to play Australian rules football because, of course. It's so funny how this just really obscure, or not obscure because it's a major game in Australia, but it's a weird sport, Australian rules football. If you ever try to watch it, it's really hard to understand what's going on. It's not like football's not intuitive either, but especially to us Americans, it's hard to understand. One thing you can understand is just the raw pinpoint kicking ability that you have to succeed in said sport, and it's why you see so many guys we've seen here at LSU come over and have success, and now Lou Hedley coming over to the New Orleans Saints, replacing Gilligan, getting that punting job.
This is the punter, because even if you're a Saints fan and you don't know who this is, now you're seeing a picture of him if you're watching this on YouTube. It is the punter from Miami that went viral because he's got tattoos all over the place.
Yeah.
And look, you know me, love a good tattoo. He actually owned a tattoo shop in Indonesia. I was reading a story about it. Like, this guy, the Saints punter, and he went to, I believe, San Francisco City College, then transfers to Miami, and then now finds his way as a starting punter for the New Orleans Saints, swaggiest punter in the league.
I mean, it's one of those deals where, like, if you're an American, you can grow up punting, but not like them. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's just not the same. The entire game revolves around being able to kick the ball exactly how and where you want to. It's not just sitting out there and practicing punts all day. So you have almost like an inherent advantage against your American punting counterparts. Good job by Lou Hedley.
So if I'm trying to play devil's advocate here, I could say this feels like a pushing all your chips to the middle of the table. You realize what this season is. Panic move a little bit. Trying something new?
I mean, again, Hedley and Gilligan were even, essentially. Gilligan had the longest punts, but he also had the shortest. Hedley was a bit more consistent, you could maybe argue, but even then we're talking about like minor differences. They both kicked fourth in the 20 in preseason. I guess Hedley was probably more consistent during practice. But, another very close competition in which both really pushed each other.
A lot of shanks for Gilligan in the last year. His first season, he was dynamite, like stepping in for Morstead. But the last couple of years has been a serious decline.
That's fair.
Saw that in the preseason.
And Morstead still holding it down. And actually, is Morstead still in the league?
Yeah, for the Jets. He's on Hard Knocks.
Okay.
They cut him, but it looked
like
they're
going to first episode.
Did they cut him?
Yeah, but then he tweeted about it, and it looked like they were going to bring him back and put someone on IR. That whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, one more move to get to in terms of cuts, and then we'll continue 53 next. But the Saints let Bradley Roby walk. So you get a 7th-round pick for Groupie. Kind of one of the other surprise, though, you let Bradley Roby walk. And, we thought Roby was playing pretty well. He seemed to kind of perfectly fit in the slot there. What's interesting is that locks Alontae Taylor in the slot position, but what's intriguing about that is he didn't rep it a ton during camp, actually.
Yeah.
Like, he was behind, for the most part, Roby and Ugo Amadi in the slot. So while he got some reps, certainly, with the 2s and 3s and everything, it is interesting that now, right before the season, they're going to say, okay, well, we trust you enough where you're going to be out there and you're going to be doing something that, we think you can, but we've never really seen you do at an NFL level consistently.
Yeah, and I certainly get and understand why you would question that. But I will say this about Alontae Taylor. At Tennessee, he played all over the place. Mm-hmm. He played everywhere. Safety, corner, didn't matter, inside, outside. He's shown in his past that he could do it at a very high level. I'm sure he's done it in practice somewhat as well. I think the fact that you let Roby go lets you know exactly what they saw from Alontae Taylor. Because if they did not see it and they just let a player that you traded 2 draft choices for just a year ago just walk, then we're in a worse spot than we thought we were.
Yeah, I mean, wait, was that real? I thought you got Bradley Roby for cheaper than that.
It was a 3rd and 6th, wasn't it?
Yeah, a couple years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
2 years
right?
ago, yeah.
Okay,
3rd and 6th, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
pretty.
3rd and 6th is
pretty. Yeah, it's pretty.
I mean, that's what
pricey.
That's what people are offering for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, okay, but 2 years worth, not really actually, but whatever.
You want 4 years out of, I think the chart says you want 4 years out of a 3rd rounder.
Yeah,
okay.
Draft or trade.
On an even trade, I guess. But like Roby, he was solid, but not the player he used to be. Like really, really good player with Denver when they won the Super Bowl.
You had no choice though, really. Remember, I mean, it was like, man, they're going to go out there and get embarrassed if they don't bring in some help at that position at the time. So you had to overpay because the entire league knew you needed it. You didn't have much leverage.
Well, this seemed like it was going to be one of those moves always where it was like, the loser, if you will, of that outside corner battle between Adebo and Taylor was just going to slide inside. I mean, Underhill came on a few times and said that this kind of seemed like it was always going to be that way.
Well, what's interesting about Adebo, though, is, and kind of Jake's point maybe, is I don't really remember Adebo hearing him even practice at nickel that much. Like, even the Alontae Taylor nickel storylines have been around since the very, very beginning of the offseason. Well, and even maybe, last year when they cut Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
And maybe that's why they chose to put Adebo on the outside. Because, like, a lot of reports we heard at camp, sometimes Taylor was leading, sometimes Adebo, where they were kind of neck and neck. They're like, hey, which one of those guys will make the easiest transition inside? We'll put the other one outside. Because they'll all be on the field at the same time anyway.
Exactly. So you want your best guys on the field. You don't want to waste resources. Keeping Roby's a bit greedy where if you feel like Adebo, Lattimore, Taylor are your best 3, well, then why not just try to get I mean, do you incur maybe a bit of depth concern? Yes, but that's the management of a 53-man roster. That's just what you have to do. So now if you have an injury on the outside, though, that will mean that Taylor would immediately kick out, and then you'd have Ugo Amadi stepping in there at the slots. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the 2 guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.